Last night, I discovered that my partner had cheated on me 2 months ago. He has asked for a second chance and has suggested that we go to couples counseling. I discovered yesterday that my partner of almost 3.5 years had cheated on me for 2 weeks in October. During the previous year, his mental health had deteriorated due to a mix of external and internal factors that had impacted our relationship. The largest source of contention between us was his lady best friend, over whom I had become apprehensive when he informed me that she could have had a love on him. Upon expressing my worries about how this was transgressing my personal boundaries, he comforted me by stating that he does not believe she is coming on to him and that she is respectful of his and my relationship. Even though I trusted him, the two of them started to become closer, and I began to feel more jealous. Although I tried my best to address him about his behavior, I told him that I didn't want him to cut her out of his life until he was certain that she did in fact have affections for him. He didn't want to confront her, so he decided that the only option was to either break off communication or continue to be friends. Knowing that there was a chance that I was incorrect and that he might lose one of the individuals on whom he had been emotionally reliant made me feel horrible. For a short period of time, I turned a blind eye. His best buddy didn't seem interested in developing a connection with me or even making an effort to meet me, and I was troubled by this, and I kept it to myself. Later, as his mental health continued to worsen, he started to exhibit signs of stress in our relationship and faced me with the idea of ending our relationship for the purpose of his own growth and development. Despite the fact that I didn't want to, I agreed that if it was in his best interests, we should go ahead and do it. Despite the fact that we were formally no longer together for a week, none of our behaviors had changed. We continued to phone and contact each other every day. By the end of the week, we had reestablished our relationship. What was the purpose of all of that? He asked himself afterward, but as my paranoia rose, I took the choice to pry through his texts after seeing she had given him a nice gif for a small period of time. Despite the fact that I read his texts while he was in the shower, I was caught red-handed practically right away. However, I did question him about the gifs and how they were bothering me. I found nothing particularly alarming. When I confessed my mistake, I was forthright about how I had acquired a suspicion that he was emotionally cheating on me. He wasn't upset with me. On the contrary, he expressed compassion for my desperate acts and promised to make a change in his life. Later in the week, he informed me that she had responded well to his confrontation and that she had come to like him. In that time, I felt betrayed by my spouse for not taking my worries into consideration. He cut her off from then on out, and we attempted to move on from the situation. After that, we had a few arguments in between then and now, which is where we are at the moment. Our disagreements were always along the lines of him accusing me of taking him for granted and me accusing him of exacerbating my feelings of jealousy and paranoia over nothing. Last night, his former closest buddy texted me to say she had something important she wanted to share with me. I take a screenshot of the message and send it to him as a text message. After numerous missed calls, he phones me again and states unequivocally, "Yeah, I played you both," before hanging up. He timed me twice in a row. We got together at his house, and I questioned him about it. I smacked him in the face twice because I was enraged that he had cheated on me with the girl with whom I had been having problems for the previous year. Even when we reconciled towards the end of the week, he continued to have an affair with her for an extra week, which he said was a sign of his insecurity about our reconciliation. He argues that there were no genuine love sentiments between them and that he was well aware that nothing positive would come of it other than him receiving what he wanted. Going back to the time I had snooped, it had only been a few days before he ended his relationship with her. That brought their 2-week relationship to a close. He had lied to her in order to give the impression that he and I were still not completely back together. And he managed to keep this connection a secret from me. He has kissed her and caressed her in personal ways, but they have not had relations with one another, their words. He claims that as soon as he made a mistake, he was overcome with remorse, and that as the relationship progressed, he felt much worse. He ended his relationship with her and chose to keep this a secret from me, doing all he could to quietly rehabilitate himself while still committing himself completely to me. Those were his words. I just have no idea who he is anymore. If it hadn't been for her reaching out to me, I would have continued to be trapped in this phony, to me, commitment. He stated that he was dropping clues and that he was being sloppy about the cover-up, implying that it was maybe due to his guilt and that he wanted me to find out in some way. And now as I look back, I see that there were a few signs of an affair as well as guilt. My confusion arises, though, when he informs me of his reasons. He is well aware that this is not a valid explanation, but he claims to have fallen deeply into his negative mental condition and into his yearning for fresh attention and love. He selected her since she was an easy target, and she admitted to like him as well, which made him feel good about himself. In addition, he claims he couldn't do it with a stranger, Ivk. He claims that he was not searching for, but rather for the same attention and feelings that we had at the beginning of our relationship. Despite this, he has acknowledged that he has been dangerously close to in the past. He now tells me that I was not deficient in any way, and that it was his own fault if I was deprived of anything. I'm really at a loss on what to do or believe from here on out. The fact that he claimed to be checking up on her was the tipping point for her. They hadn't spoken for a month, and it was the last straw for her. He said that he wanted to keep it a secret from her until the end of the relationship. As a result of his activities, she was eventually persuaded to tell me all that had happened. He claims to be in love with me and to want to spend the rest of his life with me. He claims that he felt guilty as soon as he realized his error, but I'm perplexed as to why he continued to cheat for 2 weeks if that was the case. He claims that his error made him understand that he would never do anything like that again, and that what he acquired was nothing in comparison to what he had sacrificed. I'm having a hard time trusting both him and her because I'm not sure she isn't covering things up for him since she seems to have a soft place for him. I'm having a hard time believing both of them. At the time, I have a negative attitude toward him. I'm in a great deal of anguish knowing that I was gaslighted and that I was forced to lie about my truth and gut sentiments. He made me feel bad for having my doubts about him, even though he had been working behind my back the whole time, and with her of all people. All of this was most likely a ruse to divert attention away from the real issue. He has been attentive to my outbursts of rage and passion today. I'm starting to think that he does, in fact, have genuine remorse, but I'm terrified to put my faith in him. He states that he is willing to do everything to make it work, and that couples therapy may be a possibility. Despite my long-held belief that once a cheater, always a cheater, he wants to seek expert advice on whether he has any realistic prospects of altering his ways. My concern is that even if he does change, I will never be able to truly forgive him and allow him to regain my confidence in him. I want to give him another opportunity, but I'm concerned that my passionate feelings for him are causing me to lose sight of reality. What do you think? Should I think about giving him a chance? What makes you believe that someone is capable of betraying their significant other when they are in a sad place is unredeemable?